Hello, I am Dr. Eric Miller in Chennai, and this is a run-through for a talk that I will be giving soon at the National CBSC conference in Madurai. The title of the conference is Learning Through Art Integration, and that actually is the training theme of the entire academic season from April 1, 2004 to 31 March 2025. So the conference is on learning through art integration, and my talk is on storytelling and drama as pedagogy. Art integration is a transformative pedagogy. Pedagogy means teaching methods. Art integration nurtures creativity, encouraging students to explore innovative ideas, express themselves, and think outside the box. Incorporating arts into education supports the holistic development of students, addressing their emotional and social needs, as well as their cognitive needs. So I have a number of topics here: functions of story and drama, methods of story making, enacting situations, examples of ways stories can be used to teach lessons, and examples of stories that can be used to examples of stories that can be used to teach lessons. And finally, suggestions for principles. Using storytelling and drama for teaching and learning is related to the field of oracy, O-R-A-C-Y, which involves students learning by speaking and moving. This is a new idea compared to lecture, where the student is expected to learn by sitting silently and not moving. Oracy is based on the idea that students learn best when they speak and move, part of the time. One activity in oracy, which is also relating to storytelling, is think, pair, share. When the teacher presents an idea, the student thinks about it, maybe writes notes about it, then discusses it with the student next to the student. They have a conversation, and then finally we call for a volunteer student to address the entire group with that student's ideas. So think individually, privately, share with another, and then pair with another, and then share with the entire group. Functions of story and drama. When I use the term storytelling, I'm referring to using the voice and the body to in a social gathering to share a story. Of course, there are many other ways to share a story, through the written word, through movies, through photos, but storytelling will be reserved in this talk for using the voice and body. So when we use the voice and body to tell a story, we get physically and emotionally involved. And this will help the student absorb and digest the material. When we talk about storytelling as pedagogy, it's the more the student is telling the stories, the better. Because when students tell stories, when they speak in general, they own it. And they have to organize their thoughts, and they have to prepare. Preparation to address a group is a big motivator. And the result is a lot of cognitive thinking about how to make the presentation and what happened in the presentation. So students get involved when they speak, when they tell stories. A story is a package of information that has meaning. It contains value judgments about the behaviors of characters, and this can be contested. That's why it's good to have a discussion after storytelling. A function of story and drama is to put ideas, emotions into play, and then the discussion can happen. The discussion, we call that critical thinking. And it doesn't mean negative thinking. It just means looking at something from all different angles, asking a question and then trying to get answers, referring to experts, tradition, public opinion, your own experience. There are many elements that can go into critical thinking, and it's seeking to be objective. And there's really no final word in critical thinking because it's an ongoing process of gathering information. When people hear a story, they consider how they might do things differently from the character or the same. All stories are about situations, and we project ourselves into the situation. We imagine that we're in the situation. We identify with the characters. We empathize with them. So we get emotionally involved. Now, this entire topic of using story and drama, I train teachers at the school where I work, and they say, this is nice, but we don't have time. And I tell them, this is a way of, this is not instead of your regular teaching, this is a way to improve your teaching and improve the students' ability to learn. But they need examples of how to use story and drama. So I think it would really be great to come up with a manual for teachers, lesson plan by lesson plan, giving many ideas on how to use storytelling and drama. And I'll be giving some ideas now. So the teaching methods need to change according to the National Education Policy, and the examination process also has to change because now examinations are content-based. There need to be more essay questions so that students can demonstrate their critical thinking process, and the people who read and evaluate these exams need to be trained to recognize and assess the students' thinking processes. Okay, now methods of making stories. You can choose 3 or 4 words and invite teams of students to create a story using those words. You can take any situation and invite students to act it out. Personification, the #1 method in story making. You can take an object, a chemical, an element, and pretend it's a person. It has consciousness, it has speaking ability, and that is then a character who can have adventures and motivations and be part of a story. That's personification. 2 other important methods in story making are metaphor and symbol. A metaphor means representing some new thing by comparing it to something that we already know. Examples: life is a journey. That is the icing on the cake. You are the sunshine of my life. It's comparing something in the here and now to something that we already know. Symbol is a thing that represents an idea or a feeling. A heart may symbolize love. A dove may symbolize peace. A frown may symbolize anger. A smile may symbolize happiness. So symbols can be visual as well as verbal. Now, about enacting situations. One method recommended by storyteller Shaima Sridharan is called hot seat. She invites a child to take the role of a main character in the story. The child sits facing all of the other children who ask the character why the character behaved the way the character did. So they interview the character who's doing the student who's doing a role play as the character. Another example, one example of role play of a process is erosion. When water comes against a rock over a long period of time, it wears away the rock. So you can have some students enacting the water, some students enacting the rock. You probably don't want them to bang against each other, but they can get the idea. Students can strike a pose, and then the teacher can say, come to life and speak. And they can give a speech about who they are. If it's done as a group, this is called a tableau. So there are a whole variety of ways of enacting situations. You can mime, which means no speech, improvise dialogue. I mentioned statue, freeze, then come to life. If it's done as a group, it's a tableau. You can take students on a imaginary journey. Oh, you can invite students to give a monologue as a character. All of these ideas are from Barry Stuart Mann. So now I'm going to actually give you some examples of stories. And I'll start with my strongest one, my favorite, which is Walter the Drop of Water. Walter was a drop of water who lived deep in the ocean, but he was bored because it was always dark. There was never any sunlight. He couldn't know the difference between day or night. So he wished, I wish I could travel, see the world. One day his dream came true. A fish came by and swallowed him. And the fish swam many places, but Walter had the same problem. He couldn't see anything. One day a whale ate that fish. And it was the type of whale that has teeth. Some whales don't. They just have call them baleen, which they gulp a big gulp of water and they push the water out, and krill, little shrimp, stay trapped inside their mouth. But no, this was a whale that had teeth. So the whale ate the fish. Walter had the same problem. So, but whales are mammals like you and me. They have to breathe oxygen, and they have a blowhole in the back. You might have seen it on TV or YouTube. So the whale came up and blew water and air up out of the blowhole, and Walter got blown up into the air. Up, up, up. And he was so amazed. He'd never seen the sky before, never seen the surface of the ocean. So he went up, up, until he evaporated. He turned into gas. And he and some of his friends condensed into a cloud, a different type of gas. Well, the wind came by and blew, wish, 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 blew. When I tell this story in Chennai, I say blew the cloud towards Marina Beach. And Walter could see all the people down on the beach, and the wind kept going, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Walter came over the school that we're in. We can't see him because of the ceiling. This is if we tell it in Chennai. And Walter kept going, and finally came to the mountains near Kodaikanal. And by this time, the cloud was getting dark blue. When clouds get dark blue, what might happen next? It might rain. So it was very cold near Kodaikanal there at this time. So the gas of the cloud became little pieces of ice. It's called hailstones. So Walter came down as a hailstone, a little piece of ice on the side of the mountain, and melted into a river, and the river was going down, 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 until he came to a factory where they were putting water in plastic bottles. And Walter is with us here today. Walter, can I drink you? He says, yes. Is it okay? He said, I can drink. Okay. Walter, are you inside me? Yep. Okay, now, water can come out of the human body in 7 different ways, through tears, through saliva, through perspiration. For the rest, you go to biology class. Okay, so that was a story that illustrated how H2O, hydrogen 2 atoms, oxygen 1 atom, can take 3 forms, solid, liquid, and gas. But since it was a story, we had a character who had motivation, who wanted to travel, and maybe we would identify with that and get involved, and maybe the whole thing would be more memorable than just giving the information. So that is a great story that uses personification. I'll tell you one other story about King Yahya. This is about environmental studies. There was a king who, whatever he said, everyone had to say, yeah, yeah. So he was named King Yahya. One day the king said, let's go to my castle in the swamp. You'll enjoy it. There are many things there. So they all went to that castle in the swamp. And that night the king was preparing for bed, but he heard a lot of sound out the window. Croak, 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 croak. It was frogs. So the king leaned out the window and said, "Frogs, I am the king. Please stop croaking." But the frogs continued, and the king couldn't sleep all night. In the next morning, the king and the people gathered in the breakfast hall, and the king said, "Oh, I had such a terrible night. I couldn't sleep because of the frog noise. Same thing happened to you, right?" Everyone said, "Yeah, yeah." So the king said, "This can't go on. I command all frogs must be killed." One young girl raised her hand and said, but sir, teacher told us that if we interfere with the environment, there may be unintended results." The king said, "What? Who is this child? You shouldn't even be here. Where's your mother? Where's your father? Go to school." Luckily for the frogs, there was a frog in the windowsill listening. And the frog jumped and told all the other frogs, "We got to get out of here. The king wants to kill all of us." So all the frogs went away. That night, bzz, 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 ow, the king said, "I've been bitten by a mosquito. Why are there mosquitoes? Ow, another mosquito. Why are there mosquitoes? Last night there were no mosquitoes." He asked his assistant. The assistant said, "Well, king, sir, the frogs were eating the mosquitoes. And now that the frogs have gone, the mosquitoes are here." So that night, again, the king couldn't sleep all night. He tried to wrap himself in a sheet, but the mosquitoes bit through the sheet. So the next morning, again, he was with the people, and he said, "I couldn't sleep at all. Same thing happened to you." "Yeah, yeah. Why didn't anybody warn me that if the frogs went, the mosquitoes would come?" And the little girl said, "But sir, I tried to say something." And the king said, "Yeah, but you didn't explain it clearly." That's the story. So we see that the king was a little arrogant, and he got an unintended result. So that it gives a lesson about environmental studies. Students might enjoy. In general, with history and literature, you can tell a story, and either in the middle or at the end, ask the students, "What would you do if you were in that situation?" I'll mention one more story called Fantastic Journey. This was a movie that came out in the 60s about a person who had some brain problem, aneurysm, and the only way that it can be fixed was that scientists decided to miniaturize a submarine, like nanotechnology, and inject the submarine into his arm. And the submarine, people were inside the submarine. They were all miniaturized. And they went up. They had to take the right roads, the right veins, the right arteries. So it's a lesson in anatomy. Until finally they got to his brain, and they had to use laser beams to fix the aneurysm. And they helped him. They fixed him. So that story gave a lot of motivation that they should take the right roads. They should take a left, they should take a right, and understand the anatomy of the human body to save the person. That was called Fantastic Journey. So these are some examples. Another type of enactment is paintings. People can take the postures from paintings or sculptures. Sometimes I take people on a walking tour of Marina Beach, and the statues, Carnegie, N.S.C. Bose, Tudor Gulliver, Bharatidasan, George Pope, Avayar. At each one, someone strikes a pose of that character, and then delivers a speech. "I am Carnegie. Let me tell you my story." She'll tell it in English, then she'll tell it in Tamil. So that really helps people relate to the story. One storyteller I know, Anuradha Roha, tells the students about different freedom fighters for India, and has the students act out the different freedom fighters, each one with their own motivation, their own ideas. Mahatma Gandhi, Rani Lakshmi Bai, Sarojini Naidu. So they discuss their different strategies and their different methods. If, say, we're talking about the forest, you might have students play the different stakeholders in the situation. Some can play forest officers, some can play the people who are involved with the Tiger Project. Their biggest priority is helping tigers. Some can play business people who want to develop resorts and mine and log. Some can be nature preservation people. Some can be people who want to preserve traditional knowledge, and of course, tribal people. So after some study of these different points of view, the students can enact the different points of view. This is for older students, and likewise for older students, you can have tell the stories of case studies of inventions, discoveries throughout history, and biographies of people who've done important things. The students can research, they can talk about it, they can enact the characters. So when we talk about storytelling and drama, we can also do full multimedia. Students can draw, they can speak in different ways with melody, with rhythm. They can sing, they can move in different ways. They can have enacting characters who have posture, different types of posture. So it's full multimedia. Finally, suggestions for principals. You might hire teachers specifically who are going to teach visual art, drama, dance, music, the other arts. But along with that, in addition to that, identify teachers who are good at making up stories, placing information into stories, who are good at facilitating drama. For some people, these things come naturally. So you need to identify these teachers and then have them guide the other teachers. Encourage all the teachers to find and create ways of using story and drama. There's so many resources online, and I'll show you links, so that this can be an ongoing study. You might assign a teacher in charge regarding ways of doing all this, and have the teachers meet with the teacher in charge formally and informally to share their best practices. Encourage teachers to have students act things out, to move and speak as if they were topics in the lesson. Place students in small groups in which the students can create, practice, or discuss something, and then the students can then address the entire group with story or anything else. Regarding all of the above, have the best practices be written up by the teachers and sent to you in a report, and make this report accessible to all the teachers, and request demonstrations of these best practices. Make a list of the practices, have that list compiled. In this way, you can develop the culture of using storytelling and drama for teaching and learning at your school. Okay, thank you very much for the real talk. I would give some illustrations of statues and paintings that could be acted out. And of course, I would give the links to a lot of information about doing all this. All right, thank you very much.